The history of brewing dates back pretty much to people walking on two legs. Archaeologists have found evidence that beer has been brewed literally since the beginning of civilization. And actually, there's evidence that shows that most communities were actually built, and agriculture was built around beer making before food, before making bread. And the original brewers were from Africa. The original brewers were from sort of the Ethiopia region. And as migration hit and the people began to spread out, they took this knowledge with them. And you get into Mesopotamia, and then you start to get into the Mediterranean, northern Mediterranean and southern Mediterranean. And there's evidence of brewing historically thousands and thousands of years ago. And one of the most prevalent civilizations to do it, ancient civilizations, were the Egyptians. There's been sites found almost completely intact the evidence shows that they were actual breweries. Most of them were big amphoras, these big clay pots, and they'd have them lined up with like sort of a shelter built over them. And they would take grain, like, harvested malt or millet or whatever it is they had, and they would crush it up and they would put it in a pot and they'd fill it with water, and then they would let naturally whatever was in the air and on that ferment it over time, and they would sort of filter that out, and now you have beer. And a lot of the original brewers were women. Most of, when we look back to, historically sort of hunter-gatherer roles, as potentially some of the men would go out and hunt, which, it's not 100% accurate that women didn't do that. But a lot of the gathering was brought home, and production for products like beer were made there. Beer and bread and those things were made by the people that stayed at home. Most of the time, these were women and or children that would help make beer. And then if you fast forward even to colonial sort of eras, in households here in the colonies, here in Northern America, most of the time it was women that were making most of the beer for the household. And it would be rare that a household wasn't making beer year round. That was a commodity that almost everybody had, and they would drink it throughout the day. In most civilizations, actually, you would see women being a very vital part of beer making process.